How aware are you of your current self compared to your past self? How does that awareness shape the story that you tell yourself, and why is it so important to be honest about where you actually are right now? Too often, we hold ourselves to standards that may no longer fit, or we hold ourselves to an idealized version of ourselves that we would like to live as, but just haven't figured out how to actually attain that version of ourselves yet. So today, we're diving into the power of self-awareness, how understanding who you are right now versus who you were or think you should be can transform the way you think, feel, and show up in your life. Welcome to the Better Mind Podcast, powered by NESTRE with Dr. Tommy Shavers and Chloe Abbott. Grab your favorite food, get cozy on that couch, grab your favorite snack. If you're driving, please drive safe, and let's dive into the next episode of the Better Mind Podcast, powered by NESTRE. The information being presented is not meant to replace the advice from a licensed medical doctor and should not be used to treat or diagnose any medical conditions. This podcast makes no medical claims. All health-related tips are for teaching and informational purposes only. Welcome back, Tommy.
Welcome back. It has been a while.
It's been
great to be back.
A while. It is good to be back. Yeah. Obviously, lives, right?
Life continues to life.
Life continues to life, but...
Speaking about life.
Okay.
Speaking about life.
We've been living a fun life.
Yeah. How's your life been? What's been going on recently?
Thanks for asking. No, thank you. Man, for anyone who doesn't live under a rock, sorry, aggressive?
I don't anymore.
I don't anymore. You don't for certain things.
Yeah.
This past weekend, we got to celebrate the second annual meet at Athlos. And Athlos is an all-women's track and field meet that is turning into a league this next year. Yes. And it's led by Alexis Ohanian, Kayla Green, Chris Chavez, and all their other teams their whole other team that has a vision of changing women in sports. And I got to be a part of it last year as the anthem singer and the Tiffany Crowner. Yes. But, I got upstaged this year. Serena Williams just had to get me.
Wait. So you're upstaged by the GOAT.
The literal GOAT. I was on stage, but I was upstaged by her as well. She got to crown the ladies. I had to take her mic.
I mean, year one, you got to crown the ladies. Year two, you got to retrieve the mic from the GOAT.
True.
You are stepping up in the world. I mean, what's next?
Right. I don't know.
I am tuning in to Athlos every year
just to see
the
next stage of what the Tiffany Crowner will do
of Chloe's evolution. How do you top, getting handed the mic from the GOAT?
You're right. And a few times she made eye contact with me.
Yeah. And I saw a couple of times when music was going, you guys kind of had a little vibe.
We kind of danced together.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I speak as if I wasn't absolutely just happy to see her calves in heels. Her calves are like the size of my head.
She's elite athlete.
Yes. I mean, and honestly, there were some moments backstage where I would watch how she moves and operates. Like, the second she gets off stage, she takes them heels off, threw on her Uggs, and went to go to privacy. I'm fighting for my life in my heels. And I'm like, I should think smarter, not work harder. So I started doing what she was doing. I copied and pasted.
See? Shout out to GOAT influences.
Shout out to her. Yes. As a woman who understands heels, outfit changes, she also understands practicalities.
Her and Venus have an outstanding podcast, by the way. So if you hadn't tuned into their podcast, you gotta check it out.
I haven't. Yeah.
I was laughing, almost crying. I was like, "Oh, this is
good.
This is good."
I'm impressed.
Yeah. GOAT Serena, I am officially welcoming you to the Better Mind Podcast. There was also a song.
Oh yes.
Like you just fast forwarded. We gotta. Let's rewind back.
Everything. It's such a cool event. How quickly it happens. But the anthem. And honestly, I've never said this before because I'm always very critical of myself over every anthem. But that was the best anthem I've sang.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, and I've been singing anthems for years. Like, that's just the go-to. But that was the best one I ever sang, and I was like, man, I would love to keep doing this. I like subtly text Kayla like, hey girl, can't wait to work together again next year. Hire me.
Well, I mean, when you crush it, I got a chance to see a clip and I was like, oh, she crushed it.
Yeah, Tommy calls me after and he's like, hey, so the little clip that I did see, that was pretty great. I was like, it was literally like 3 seconds.
I'm like, this seemed like studio version and it was from the stands.
Yeah.
That was outstanding. We need to get a full clip.
I have a full clip.
Oh, let's go.
It looks a little ghetto. Shout out Obos, he recorded it for me. But yeah, it's the full clip. I'm gonna use it to send to the NFL teams. I have a bone to pick with the NFL.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
Respectfully. Because for years, I have been sending in my clips, my anthem reels. I've had people reach out who are on teams and getting to the source to get me in. So my point is, at some point, like it's been on my vision board for like the last 10 years and it hasn't happened. And I kind of feel some type of way that it hasn't happened yet. Overall though, it was 10 out of 10 experience. I loved it. I loved seeing the girls win and do great. And I loved seeing my friends backstage and, just learning business on the other side of the sport. I will say that's been the thing I love the most. I'm like learning about what it takes to put on an event, consider the athlete's care, well-being. And it's like one thing to be the athlete, but it's another thing to like make everything happen for the athlete. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so there's a different level of care I have because I know what it's like to be the athlete. And so I'm like, oh, well, are you thinking about this? 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 And I'm just learning so much about all of that. So let's get into the topic today because we love Athlos, but we love getting better so much more. We're getting into a topic about self-awareness. The highs, the lows, the in-betweens of what it takes to gain self-awareness. And I think, like, I love talking about these topics that, like, people say, it's like a buzzword. Like, I have so much self-awareness. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so self-aware. But it's like, what do you really mean by that? And is your version of self-awareness really impacting you? Or is it a deceptive, like, I don't know, I want to say, like, word you're saying to gain self-awareness. But do you have the tools to actually gain it? Do you know what self-awareness really is? Like, Yeah,
I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that gets mixed up in this conversation around self-awareness. And so, but
yeah.
Let's start here. So how would you define self-awareness? Or when you think about you being self-aware, how would you put it into words?
It's so funny when you ask that. And this is a part of the conversation too, I have a past life answer. And then I have the answer that I'm starting to identify with. And I'm like, you ask it, I'm like, ideal self or actual self?
Well, that's good. I mean, that's literally, it's your self-awareness journey.
Yeah.
Which means you're growing in self-awareness. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can identify with, hey, there's a different me at a point and, I'm beginning to see emerge a different version of myself. That means you're growing in self-awareness. That's awesome. So how are you seeing it? You can either say then or now. Actually, it'd be great.
Well, I think then self-awareness was kind of being overcritical.
Mm-hmm.
Like in rooms, making sure that I'm making everyone else comfortable, making sure that I am, serving people in a way that fits them more than it fits me. I always tell you this, like shape-shifting, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, okay, like I'm so self-aware that I'm aware of him, her, him, her. I got everyone in this room. I'm aware. And I thank the Lord have absolutely let that go as best as I can. Obviously, like you said, the journey. I feel like now self-awareness to me is being aware of self. Because I think originally being self-aware was being aware of others so that then others could think that I'm self-aware.
That's good.
That's
good. Now, the part I'll add to that, though, is both aspects are actually a part of self-awareness. And so self-awareness has built into it this natural inclination of being aware of others, your surroundings, your experiences, and then how you respond, how they impact you, how it influences you, how it shifts or changes your values, how you influence your surroundings or individuals. So it has this interplay between, awareness of others and awareness of self.
Right.
Where the challenge comes in is, is it a positive self-awareness? Are you aware in a way that allows you to influence your experiences, in a desired way?
Right.
Or is it, there's so much self-awareness that it's crippling you, that it's paralyzing you, that it's creating this lack of confidence or this, negative self-talk, as we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
This hyper-vigilant
self-sabotage.
Right. So yeah, I think this is a great conversation.
Well, what do you think self-aware? I have the definition as always, but like, what do you think self-awareness is? And I think it would be good for you also to share what you used to know, and then obviously what life experiences has done, what you've learned now about what self-awareness is.
Yeah, I mean,
and what it really means.
I think practically most people think about it as being self-conscious, being conscious of self, and it is, that's a piece of it. But, when you think about in your lived experience, this awareness has, a number of pieces to it. Whether you're, aware from a knowledge standpoint, awareness from a emotional standpoint, awareness from a sensory or sensing standpoint.
Yeah.
And all of that is giving your mind, brain, and body information on how you're experiencing the world. And then your perception comes into that. How are you perceiving these inputs from the outside world, right? And some people have super high self-awareness to the degree that those experiences start to become too much, right? And everything is in this kind of reactive, passive or reactive place. Mm-hmm. And so in a simple way, and then there's others that aren't as self-aware, and they kind of navigate through the world with very little
awareness of self,
awareness of, and there's some value in that,
depending on what it's rooted in,
depending on who you are, depending on what you do.
Yeah.
And so there isn't a right or wrong, good or bad degree of it. People are uniquely different. But in a simple way, it's being able to have an understanding of how you think, feel, and are influenced by external and internal experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I, we talked about it earlier, but I'm like, off the podcast, but like, I didn't realize how much, when I was making the questions and stuff, I was like, man, like, does outer influences impact self-awareness? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, because it seems like for me, I remember like what other people were doing impacted my self-awareness of, and it changed how I acted, how I responded, and I would change to be molded into someone that fit into everything else. And I think too, I definitely, the self-sabotaging, self-criticalness, like it getting too much based off of, like, it creates, based off of what everyone else was thinking. It's like it creates that overthinking, that anxiety, that like fear of walking in a room, like just that, like this experience is just too much, which then creates a whole different narrative you tell your brain about who you are. And then it's like coming out of that, it was so freeing to know, like, one, that never was who I was. Right. Two, like, self-awareness doesn't include, like, it does if you let it, but including being, like, overly critical of self.
Correct.
And three, like we've talked about in previous podcasts, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Who made you like that? Or what experience made you resort to that thought process when you are in other rooms and around people?
Yeah. Well, what typically happens is, and there's research around this too, where depending on your perceived status in an environment has a great deal of influence on how your self-awareness is impacted. Meaning, if you feel confident, if you're the big dog in the room, if you have more perceived status, then your awareness of self has this pretty high value piece to it. And you're the person bringing more influence than being influenced.
I understand that, like high status.
Correct.
Individuals or status in whatever level of status there is.
In a social perception, if now on the other hand, if you're lower down on the rung.
On the what?
On the rung. If you're lower down on the ladder, okay? All right? If you're lower down on the ladder,
wait,
all right?
Hold on.
We're not going to go back. We have some little things that we say in different places, and, so I'm just going to coach it up there, all right? All right. So if you're lower down on the ladder, right?
Yes.
Bottom of pole.
Sea level.
Yeah. Like naturally your self-awareness shifts. Because now, so think about it this way. The higher up you are on the status, pecking order, the more access you have to resources.
Yeah, which means the less alone you'll feel, or the
more confident you are. That self-awareness is pretty good because you're more influencing. Yep. The lower you are on that status level or perceived, the less access you have to resources, right?
It means you're just in there.
And the more dispensable you are. If crisis happen, you're the first to go. So what it creates is this hypervigilant around you become more responsive or reactive to your environment and influences because there's a survival type of experience going on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I have a question now.
Yeah.
Because everything that you're saying is based off of others' perception, pretty much. Like other perceptions, status, based off of what you've done, how you've operated, it impacts the way you feel about yourself.
Yeah. So a lot of times when people talk about these conversations around self-whatever, they oversimplify the conversation. As human beings, we live in a social construct. We live in, there is no, in a vacuum, there is no just me.
Right, yeah.
There's no just me.
Always impact and influence.
Anything I'm evaluating is relative to this external world that I live in.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be in process
of others
to the external lived experience. To what degree, though, is, either if some people are, predisposed to being more internally, focused individuals, what we say more internal locus of control, meaning they're less dependent on their environments.
Right.
Right. And then there's others who are more predisposed to be externally dependent or sensitive, where their external environment really matters on how it shapes. And there are pluses and minuses to both of those.
So it's because, so I want you to talk about about life being performance, because that's kind of what you're getting at, like we're constantly aware of how we're coming off to others and others are coming off to us, and the level in which that looks like for each person is different. But what is it about humans that create that perception?
So relationally, life is always a theater. And what I mean by that is at all times, either we're on the stage or we're in the audience in this relational social dynamic.
Meaning like people to people.
Yeah. Meaning either, we're aware that others are processing what we're saying, what we're doing, and it creates a conscious awareness of that, and so you naturally start to gravitate to becoming more your ideal self, or what people call your public face, right? Because we know that individuals are constantly judging, perceiving, processing who you are and how you show up, right? Or you're on the other side of that, processing other individuals and who they are and how they show up, right? And so, so we have this natural thing, socially, that life is like this theater where there's a tendency naturally to gravitate to being more of your ideal self, how you want to be seen, portrayed, or experienced, versus your real self, who you actually are in that moment. And so sometimes people are like, I just want to be me. Well, there are times and places where that's absolutely valuable, but then also there's this understanding that in the social environment,
there's a time and place to just be you, and it may not be in that environment.
Right. And then understanding that everything is to some degree a theater. And when I say theater, it kind of sounds like I'm saying act or fake. I'm not. I'm talking about the concept of someone is always interpreting or experiencing what you're doing. Just like if you were experiencing a show or a play on stage, right? And, that entertainer or performer's job
is to
present the best version that can be experienced by the audience. Does that make sense? And so, stand-up comedians or live stage individuals are some of the greatest individuals around self-awareness, because they have the ability in real time to be aware. They can gauge if a joke landed, or if they can build up, or if it's so bad I got to go to my home run joke now and then come backwards, or you know what I mean. And so individuals that are able to read rooms, great negotiators are phenomenal in that. Great counselors have phenomenal empathy, can be able to show up with high degree of self-awareness and match the moment the right way, and so those are things that I'm saying that there's tremendous value. If you understand that, life is this theater. I have to be self-aware of, I have 3 phenomenal kids and they're all different, and I show up different with those 3 kids. My oldest is like the brains of the operation, so I have to show up with brain knowledge, which is tiring, because he's like a super genius, if you will. And the middle kid is like Hulk smash, and hugs are like, hey man, that's a little too, so I'll take a fist pump, and he wants to talk ball, he wants to play ball, and, he loves the crisis of storms and weather. Like, he's literally like alpha.
Yeah.
And then I have a princess, a literal princess in all the sense of the word. And being able to have the awareness of the confidence, the delicacy, the intellect, like if you show up, if you've been around my princess, if you show up not on your game, she's going to let you know.
Call you out.
She's going to call. She's grown up with two older brothers. Mm-hmm. Her wit, her confidence, and like she takes up all the space. She makes sure individuals understand that there's a princess in the room, mm-hmm. In the best sense of the word. But as a father, there's a self-awareness around that, that I'm engaging with three different phenomenal humans, and even with, my wife, where Tamika will be, celebrating 30 years coming up, next year. There's a self-awareness that continues to evolve, right? Because if I'm not self-aware, then I'm going to lose a sense of understanding of how I best show up for her, in everyday life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think if we can get okay with this idea of life being a theater, it's this fake thing. It's
performance.
It's performance, and you prepare, you develop to be the best version of you, and to get that real time feedback, because if you're not self-aware, you can miss the cues.
Yes.
That are so important for you to be able to move forward effectively, and in the right way.
Yeah.
And self-awareness is a superpower that if you master it, you'll be able to see all of the clues that life is giving you, all of the insights and information that you can leverage, in real time, in prepared moments, to show up the best version of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people give you great data on yourself, like in order to, obviously, I mean, even people that you may not necessarily trust. Sometimes I think like good data comes from just your experience with that person. And to your point, like having that real-time ability to read a room, I think I resonate with that pretty well, because in performance, in acting, in music, and performing for others, like I had to unlearn some of that because I was becoming so much of a performer. I was losing myself. And a lot of the best actors talk about that all the time, that they don't regret their life. They don't regret their profession, but they recognize how much it took away from who they really are, and they lost a lot of themselves. And now in their later part of their careers, they are now trying to find who they really are outside of what other people think, money, their worth being wrapped up in a role they land. And obviously people who have that awesome ability to be able to understand people, empathize with people on a deep level because they can understand others,
right? Which
in turn, it impacts the way, depending on how you process it, it impacts the way that person looks at themselves.
Correct.
And I mean, to your point, I think people who are able to connect with people really well are the ones who probably wrestle a lot with like self. And if they don't have like an anchor or something to keep them running back to, hey, this is you.
Yeah.
But when you go out of your door every day and you're talking to all these different people, connecting with these different people, and kind of, in a sense, giving whatever is needed in that moment to help that person heal, survive, whatever it is, like getting back to that anchor when you come home, like if you don't have that, you're going to continue to take pieces from each person, each experience, and it can become
you,
the story. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course other people's perceptions and experiences impact the ability to be self-aware? Of course it does.
100%. Social awareness and self-awareness go hand in hand.
Man.
And it's understanding that dance.
Right.
It's a dance.
It is.
You know, and it's a delicate dance. I think you make a great point about actors where, you know, like there are different, you know, brainwave frequencies that are more external when you're, you know, outwardly engaged in experiences. And then there are those that are more internal that when we're thinking around self, it's kind of self-reflective and and the time, frequency, and intensity starts to determine how much we live and operate in these different frequencies. Where, you know, if we've for a very long time in our outward focus or outward experiences, right, are having to juggle or contort, right, for others.
Yes.
Over time, that becomes you, right? And so if there isn't the balance, you know, of being able to
serve and step out,
put off that outer self and have a true self, right, where
a true self, where
yeah,
this is your base foundation,
that's your anchor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And getting and internalizing it,
right,
and like reading it, like you said, because my other question I was gonna have, but you kind of answered it, was like, how can we identify and claim our real self and not have this ideal self? It's like, how can we allow that truth of our ideal self to become who we are, like practically, like the journaling or the reading or whatever it is, to let that truth become your anchor and internalized root of like, no matter what I do, no matter what energy I expend, no matter what stories I hear that make me cry or impact my soul in the midst of me doing my work, I'm going to get back to here every time.
Yeah.
How does a person, I think viewers can hear this, but then, you know, get encouraged on how to practically find that root, that identity, so that they can always run to the anchor.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal question. That's a great question. You know, so how do you become more self-aware? How do you create the practice of becoming more self-aware?
Your true self, yeah. Your
true self. I think a couple of things I would recommend. You know, one is intentionally taking time to write down what would you gravitate to if it was just you.
Okay, but let's talk about what that means.
So
what does it mean, just you?
If it was just you, meaning no other individuals, you know, not having to entertain or engage, right?
No kids.
No. If it was just you, no other cares. What would you gravitate to? You know, is it music? Is it theater? Is it shopping? Is it just
serving? Whatever.
Quiet time? Is it just chilling on the couch?
What brings you joy?
Right. What brings you joy, and not others or relationships. Like what are those things? And being able to write them down to be able to do kind of a deeper dive on it, right? Because it starts to give you, you know, again, we talk about self-awareness. It you know, processes clues from your environment, from your lived experiences. Mm-hmm. So being able to do that, right? And then it'll start to give you some ideas around, you know, oh, I enjoy, I prefer, right? Man, I prefer a good laugh, or I prefer a great, you know, heated discussion. You know, man, I love competition, you know, or if I could just do anything, I just love to just read,
yeah,
or spend time writing,
yeah,
right. So a part of it is to do that, you have to be able to have the time for self. If there isn't time for self, it's going to be very difficult to keep that anchor around true self, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, though, even for the ones who are even struggling to separate others from themselves, because like we talked about, so much of what other people have said before about that person or your personal life can still feel like it's you. And it's like, no, but like separating your life experiences. I feel like I need to get granular, but like separating your life experiences, separating what you've heard about yourself. I mean, it may be helpful at first to kind of be like, well, I've heard this and this and this, but even in your internal thoughts, when you're writing down these specific things that you like, what is it that you as an individual, like without the stories and narratives your mom has told you, or the stories and narratives that your boss has told you about how awesome you are at this, like, but the narratives that you've heard about everything, like isolating your life as best as you can. And that may take some work too, right? To separate.
But that's only a part of the process too.
Right.
So like the reason that's important is because you're trying to find that anchor, that true self.
What's important? The reason why what's important? The
separating of self. The example you're giving, the reason that's important because it's starting to lay the foundation of this healthy process
of just
right.
Self.
And so because we haven't directly said this, but we've kind of been hinting at it. Like there is proactive self-awareness, and then there's a reactive self-awareness. And the way you stay true to self is developing this proactive self-awareness, meaning your awareness starts with self, and then it engages with the world.
Once you've got a solid base of self.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? And then it engages with the world, and then the world gives it feedback. But it's still anchored.
Yes.
You know, what are your non-negotiables? What are your convictions? What are your values?
Yes.
What are your preferences?
Yes.
And you bring that strategically to the world, in that interplay, in that dance. Proactive self-awareness is leading the dance. Reactive self-awareness is yourself is becoming shaped by what the outside experiences are doing upon you. So you're not anchored because it's starting outside of you, right? And so you want to practice this. This concept of developing proactive self-awareness. I gotta be able to start with self. I talk about it, like at times it's hard to flip that. It feels like a heavy lift where it's just like life is happening and you're just constantly reacting to life, and it's just molding you in ways that you don't want to be molded. You got to take an opportunity intentionally to separate from that influence. Separate from the noise. Anchor. Who am I? What are my values? Right?
What's my base?
What's my convictions? My non-negotiables? How do I enjoy showing up? And that becoming an anchor of what you bring and present to the world. Right?
Yes.
A phenomenal artist makes incredible art or music or paintings from within self for the world to experience, right?
That's the best type of art too, like the best,
because it
comes from a real place,
correct,
of authenticity, genuineness in self,
correct. And then what starts to happen is it starts in this authentic way. And over time, when the world starts to give its feedback,
and it just picks at the,
and then you start to see over time, that the artists start to become
more of what the expectation is,
and then they start to lose this sense of natural,
raw pureness,
pure creation of incredible art.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing with life. And so,
Yeah.
With time, there's always this need to step back, re-anchor with our true self, let it come from within us. Mm-hmm. Right. And being strategic how you engage, start with environments that are safe, environments that encourage you to bring your true self. You got to have those environments, right? And being intentional about the people you're around and the relationships you have that continue to facilitate that, And so when you are engaging in the larger outside world, there's a really strong base around who you are. Like, I know who I am, right? I know what I bring to the table. And regardless of how this experience goes, I'm going to learn from it, but I'm still going to be anchored.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, I just think about the people that, and I want to get into this other thing. But there's a friend out there. If you feel like you're alone, there's a friend. And I think about the people who may not feel like they have, community or people that they can, lean on, rely on. And so regardless of where an individual is at on this journey of becoming more aware of self, like, it's so important to do your best to not enable behavior that keeps you operating and relying on outer things, people, experiences, even when it feels like it's the right decision, because that just feels like the right thing. It's so important, no matter what, to take the time to say it's not, because it's always changing. Outside perspectives, external things are always changing. And so to allow that to be your root, it's not a sustainable base foundation for anyone. And so no matter how strong you feel about being like, well, I don't got any friends who can help me see this. And, I don't, it's best just to keep it pushing. I got to get stuff done. It's like you keep operating like that and you're going to burn yourself out. and not only that, but the longer you go without a true identity of self, the longer I feel like you miss out on enjoying life and experiences.
Yeah.
No matter where or what is going on.
And sometimes, too, we hadn't touched on this, kind of to what you're alluding to, too. Sometimes it's so important to have people in your life that can see you in ways that you don't see yourself. Just trusted people, who can see in you things that someone maybe hadn't fully articulated, or communicated or shared. But again, that's the outside world giving you this feedback, and we've talked about it before, being able to lean into, some of these insights where you may not see it in yourself, mm-hmm. but if you can trust where the information is coming from, that's valuable information.
Yeah.
Someone may go, hey, I remember for me, I had no idea about, postgraduate, degrees or studies. It was like, you go to school, you graduate, now you got to go get a job. And, I would constantly have individuals in the football department and in school would say, you should consider, getting a master's degree, or, you have the potential of taking this thing further and getting a doctorate's degree. And, I'm like, I was never thinking about any of that. But in key places in my life, even all the way back to being a little kid in elementary school, my elementary school teacher, PE teacher, pulled me aside and said, I need you to go play football. And he saw something in me that put my life on a trajectory that I'm forever thankful for, because I didn't even know about, football in that journey, and there were coaches that saw things in me that I didn't see. So like my whole life has been people providing.
And you trusting.
valuable people providing insights that I was able to see after they shared it.
Yeah.
And so, and some people you need that. Like, you need people. Some of you out there really have great social awareness that you have this ability to pour into other people in that way.
Yep.
Absolutely use it. People need it. There are those that need to hear this valuable feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big guy on the word, criticism, unless it was for the right, true definition of what it means. But most of the time people think negative, I got to give you some hard negative, just feedback, and that it goes such a long way, especially for individuals, who naturally aren't as self-aware about the amazing things they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Who they are, how people experience them, if that makes sense. I think that's a huge piece too in this social and self-awareness kind of conversation.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I hope that this conversation, truthfully, I'm like thinking about, I'm like, I need to, because there's so much peace in, especially as a creative, being able to know that everything you're creating is coming from a pure place. And that no matter what, if you have a base anchor of who you are, like you said, convictions, deep morals, like things that can keep you anchored on who you are regardless of what happens, like, or what experiences you have, it gives you this confidence to go out into the world and know that what you're giving is coming from a pure place of love, a pure place of wisdom about who you are, and a peace, I think, on how to navigate and operate and speak to people. And I know, I'm like, whenever I'm writing music, when I feel like I'm not in a pure place or I've kind of been off, I don't even touch it. I don't touch it because it's like, I don't want to makeshift something that isn't me. I want to tap into who I am and be in tune with who I am when I'm writing this song. Because I bet the best of, like you said, the best things come from a place of I'm just being me. And I this conversation's so good. We didn't get to some of the things, but I think we'll talk about it in our next episode. But I really hope that, as you guys are listening, that this encourages you to take time to get to yourself, be by yourself, and spend time getting to know you and people that you may not think that care about you, people you may not think care about you, but like they've said great things about you. They've kind of spoken to the best parts about you, but you don't identify with it. It's like, take a second to think about that too. And just be like, man, like, I didn't like that person, or I didn't really think about that person as a friend or whatever, but man, like that person really spoke to me in ways I never heard about myself. And it can encourage a new friendship. It can start the opportunity to have people around you that actually build you up. And so don't be surprised at the people that have been placed in your life that you didn't think were going to make the most impact on you. And then you end up going back to them and being like, man, you know what? Years ago, you said this thing to me and it stayed with me even in my doubt. And so I'm coming back to let you know, thank you.
Thank you.
And watch the fruit that comes from that. Like, watch the progression of life that comes from that. Like, and so I encourage our viewers, our listeners with this conversation. I think we could talk about this even more, but like, I don't know, don't limit yourself to what you know. Take the time to be like, what have I closed my eyes to that I can actually open my eyes up to see, like, man, that person could be really helpful in this journey of becoming aware of self and getting to know who I am apart from the noise and apart from the experiences. I'm like, oh, there's freedom on the other side of this thing.
Yeah, it's incredible when we understand it the right way around self-awareness. And I'll just add this kind of final food for thought.
Yeah.
As our society continues to evolve, we have to be mindful that self-awareness is being challenged in some very, very non-human ways. When you start thinking about technology and social media and the world having access to you and you having access to the entire world in an instant, that's not a natural human experience. And so like we have to be mindful of how we allow our self-awareness to evolve. If you start having volumes of people who know nothing about you, determine how you process you, it will create a vicious cycle that was never meant for you to do. Now, and I say that because we're developing and we have to learn how to adapt to that. And so for those that are engaging in this modern and emerging world, just be mindful around how you develop your self-awareness. Let it be anchored with you first, independent of, and then trusted feedback. All feedback isn't valuable feedback. Trusted feedback that allows you to shape this healthy understanding of who you are in relationship to the world you live in. Word.
No, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, that's our episode. And as always, follow us, promote this podcast, share it with a friend. It's been so cool seeing like friends, and we have a friend, a therapist, who shows our podcast to some of her clients, and she'll text me and be like, oh man, like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
just
awesome.
Like this podcast is really helping people, and we get to see it, but it's always nice to see it on social media, the different ways in which we're helping and encouraging people. So always share, follow, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share how this podcast is helping you. We really appreciate the feedback. And yeah, we hope to see you guys at on our next episode. See you later.